What do you think about what you just watched? Did it make you feel moved? Maybe you are a fan of the artist shown, and it made you feel a part of something so much bigger, or maybe even made you feel emotional. Perhaps seeing people in such unique circumstances doing such unique things with such talent makes you revere them to the point that it almost feels religious. Seeing so many human beings cheering on a single person is something rare but incredibly powerful. It inevitably makes us other these people as so unique that they're transcendent. Actually, no, none of that is true. It's really all just one big illusion. Nobody, no matter how big, is actually as unique or transcendent as we are made to believe. Now, before everybody starts trying to claw me the fuck up, I'm not trying to say that artists aren't talented at all, but just that there's a lot more of this undiscovered talent in the general population than we are aware of. The entertainment industry is presented to us as this representation of the cream of the crop of talent, but it is a lot more centralized, limited, and just inefficient than people are able to realize. Whoever we see at the top, we almost subconsciously rationalize that they are just the best instead of a tiny fraction of actual possible talent worldwide.
Yes, this is Hollywood, the city of the stars, the famous, the fabulous, the glamorous Hollywood.
When attempting to acquire fame, pure talent and dedication can really only get you so far on your own before your growth plateaus. The most important aspect of all this would not be pure talent at all, but being able to leverage the opportunities that a billion-dollar label company has to offer. This company has the power, influence, and resources to put your name above everyone else's, which inevitably will give you the recognition regardless of real talent. The implications of this is that no famous person in the industry is really where they are by talent alone, or in some cases, any talent at all. Fame and recognition is not a reflection of just pure extraordinary abilities, but it's a well-planned, structured combination of opportunity, luck, resources, and then talent. If someone is so huge and they're breaking records and they're outselling stadiums, it has to be a direct representation of how exceptional they are. The only reason we actually think like this is because we have this illusion of scarcity of talent and an overflated representation of very specific artists. In reality, there are hundreds of thousands and probably even millions of people around the world that their music or craft happen to be shown to wider audiences, like what is done artificially through record labels. They would garner massive amounts of fame, similar to what known musicians in America have today. A lot of this literally just waters down to opportunity in the concentration of resources and available artistic avenue. You can have all the talent in the world and work day and night, but if music label corporations don't use their influence to market you and spread your craft, you will never make it. The people who make their own music on SoundCloud or are very underground or independent, I always kind of feel bad because a lot of them tend to have the goal of being some huge Kanye, Beyonce like person. And while it's not impossible, they don't realize just how centralized the music industry is and how they can only have so many artists on their labels. So it just becomes so improbable. But not because you don't have talent or that you aren't good, but because the only way for you to reach these crazy level of fame is to go through this machine that is centered in Southern California. If you don't go through that avenue, you will only reach certain levels of fame. But again, it's not a statement on your actual talent. It's more of a statement on corporations and their influence. Now, many people think people that do end up becoming, canonized in American culture like Elvis or Madonna or Michael Jackson were born to be great. It was inevitable that they would rise to the top. It's almost like it was their destiny. Like for Michael Jackson, he's portrayed as someone who was inevitably going to become huge, and that his fame is a direct result of talent alone. Extraordinary fame equals extraordinary talent. However, it's not that simple. While I think we can literally all agree that Michael Jackson was talented, you cannot debate that. I don't think people tend to take into account these extraordinary circumstances he was raised around. I know that this next part's going to be kind of like a nature versus nurture argument, but I do think it's not as black and white, and it is important. Michael Jackson's father groomed him for a career in music and entertainment from an early age. I would even argue that those horrible extreme pressures and abuse from his father to perform a certain way contributed to what we now perceive as exceptional, incomparable abilities? What if Michael Jackson wasn't born into a family that curated this childhood of music and performance? What if his childhood wasn't suffocated by such abusive pressures to be the best and exceptional? What if Michael was born into a different, normal family? In this timeline, maybe he still dances and sings, but only in local small town shows, or maybe does it as just a hobby for fun. Because Michael's extreme upbringing and management by his father is absent, Michael doesn't have the pressures to be so exceptional and also does not receive those same opportunities, so the cultural impact that he has in our timeline never materializes. This point can also apply to the only other person that I think comes close to the cultural impact in the modern day of Michael Jackson, and that is Beyonce. Beyonce was enrolled in singing and dancing lessons from a very young age. At home, she would often spend hours with her friends rehearsing and working on singing and dancing routines overseen by her father. Her father, who eventually became her manager, created this girl group called Girls Time in 1990, which then went on to become Destiny's Child, and the rest is history. If Beyonce's father did not recognize her talent and push her to fulfill these goals, would she still be where she is today? Would she still be seen as so uniquely transcendent and insanely gifted? Even Taylor Swift's parents, whose mom was conveniently a marketing executive and father a wealthy broker, nurtured her talents from a young age. Her mother would ping pong around, taking her to karaoke competitions when she was a child, and her parents even eventually moved to Nashville to help support her musical career. Her dad also bought a stake in the record company that happened to be the first one to sign her. Who knows where these celebrities would be if they didn't have these very specific opportunities and childhood circumstances? Maybe in these alternate timelines where they aren't pushed as much or molded, they're still famous but didn't have as much of their potential realized, meaning their fame only reaches modest levels. Maybe they wouldn't have become famous at all, and someone else that happened to be born into a wealthy family with more opportunity instead takes their place. We tend to have this perception that these modern legends would have inevitably become huge because of the idea, again, that fame or recognition is a direct, literal result of talent and nothing else. These people at the top of the music industry must be the pinnacle of artistic talent we subconsciously tell ourselves. In reality, talent becomes just a factor in a much bigger picture that needs much nurturing and molding and opportunity to be able to manifest itself into such levels of super fame that artists like Beyonce or Taylor Swift occupy. The more you meditate on this thought, the more you realize just how relative this level of fame actually is, and the less you view it as some extremely rare, otherworldly statement on these celebrities' personhood or being. I think this point is important because it can help people view musicians and celebrities as actual humans instead of these unbelievably unique, transcendent, godlike idols. I think if everyone, or at least a much larger percentage of the global population, was afforded the same opportunity as these modern celebrities, many other people would rise to similar levels of fame, and the creative bar would be rapidly raised. Competition and creativity would explode as Taylor Swift or Beyonce are toppled from their pedestals overnight, as hundreds, maybe even thousands of people around the world with similar talents and abilities to theirs are discovered. How many unknown, unbelievably talented humans live in obscure parts of the world, having their abilities never reach full potential, simply because they weren't born in the right country or to a wealthy, influential family? I think this point I'm making doesn't just apply to this artificially limited number of superstars we have, but also just to the literal existence of the superstar itself. A lot of people ask themselves, why haven't we had another Elvis, Madonna, or Michael Jackson? Again, it's not because talent is less available today, but more because those celebrities happen to have access to opportunities that other incredibly talented people never receive, and because the labels they sign to are also so centralized with their power, these celebrities can now have their image unnaturally and artificially inflated. This is why a lot of times if you ever watch, the documentaries about some famous person or some musician that you really like, there's almost always this point in the documentary right before the musician blows up where they meet the label executive and, the big suits that are running it all tell them, I have the power to make you big. Because these music labels are so huge and powerful, they can literally manufacture your fame and image. In today's world though, this is all changing. The decentralization from the internet is causing that extreme level and longevity of fame to become more rare. Before the internet, record labels had much more control, and everyone got introduced to music through the same centralized channels like MTV or the radio. This caused artificial oversaturation of very specific artists, leading to their fame growing to unprecedented levels. Again, the claim is not that these artists are not talented, that's obvious, but that their fame is equally caused by just simple exposure and the corporate power behind them. This is an illusion that is an important factor in the music industry's business model. If they can't convince us that this artist is so unique and transcendent with their talent and push them on every ad or event or show to give this perception that they are the best and they are almost godlike and perfect, they won't garner the super fans that worship their every move, and therefore they will make less profit. I think we are actually in the waning days of the existence of the ultra mega superstar. Not saying we won't have famous singers, but that, again, everything is decentralizing so quickly, and even just the trend of industrialization around the world is allowing for more opportunity for more people. As Asia continues to develop and eventually Africa, a much larger share of the global population will be offered similar opportunities as their societies become richer. This illusion of rare talent will slowly but surely become seen as less and less scarce. A handful of rich Western countries will no longer have a monopoly on talent as more of it is discovered elsewhere. This will lead to the age of the mega celebrity dying and the ushering in of the era of the indie and international artists. We are moving towards a more diversified market with numerous artists coexisting instead of an extremely centralized, unfair one with only a couple huge artists at the tippy top. I don't even think that this is something that is far in the future, but it's actually something that we are in the middle of right now with the internet and social media. The internet has thrown a wrench in the centralized corporate structure of this industry, and now we see the arts becoming more and more diversified through things like YouTube, free music producing software, and independent labels. I talk about this so much more in other videos, but I do believe the amount of technological change we will see in our lifetime, from human biology to the arts and the way our economies function, will truly look alien to us in the present. We will look back at how inefficiently centralized our world was and clutch our pearls in shock. In the same way today, we view past systems like mercantilism as barbaric and counterproductive. I think one of the biggest points of this whole video though is that the existence of the superstar itself relies on artificial artistic scarcity and centralized music label power. This is why today it's no secret that music label corporations are freaking out because it's increasingly harder to recreate a Lady Gaga or a Beyonce or a Taylor Swift. The world is too decentralized now, and what we stream and view is now on demand, not what they force on us or what we hear through these centralized channels like MTV or the radio. Once you remove the music industry's control on who can become huge or who has access to this market, now we have a world where we can get exposed to all types of artists from all over, big or small. We then can realize that this trend that started really in the 20th century of the incredible dominating megastar is more of a manufactured representation of corporate monopoly in limited competition, rather than a literal result of unbelievable rare talent. What we view as true talent today would drastically change overnight if larger portions of the population around the world were given equal opportunities to develop and nourish their talents as the privileged few have today. If what I'm talking about in this video was more well known, I don't think the music industry as it functions today would be the same, or at least I don't think it would be viewed the same. If we were all aware that these musicians are talented but artificially bolstered by their record labels and ads and corporate influence, would we still view them as so uniquely exceptional and godlike? Or more as the logical result of a formula that can be repeated with anyone around the world given the same circumstances? This thought is important, and I think it can actually help to further rationalize the argument against celebrity worship. Instead, you recognize musicians for what they actually are: incredibly talented humans, but at the end of the day, still human.